Kindly subscribe to my channel and like this video to get notification of more interesting revenge stories. Adrianna Cole watched her father slide a polished folder across the dining table, his movements calm, almost casual. "Maya will take over," he said, as if the words were a promise already fulfilled. Maya had only been home for a week. Adrianna had carried their parents and the family business for a decade. Her mother nodded, the sound somehow louder than words. Adrianna said nothing. She simply placed the power of attorney beside the house keys. The metal clinked sharply. Everyone assumed she was surrendering, but when Maya later opened the letter Adrianna left, she didn't read it twice. She couldn't. Adrianna grew up in long hallways smelling of antiseptic and lavender, the nursing home her second home. Her father walked proudly ahead, greeting residents as if he owned the air itself. Little Adrianna trailed behind, pushing a wheelchair too big for her. "Careful, Addie," he would say without looking back, already turning to impress someone else. Maya, though, never trailed behind anyone. She floated, dresses swaying, curls catching light, laughter drawing attention like gravity. Their mother posed Maya for holiday photos, writing captions like, "Our shining future." Adrianna appeared only in the background, half-cut, holding a clipboard no one noticed. The division grew with them. When Maya complained about homework, they hired tutors. When Adrianna brought home straight A's, her father barely glanced up. "Expected from you," he murmured. Maya got dance shoes, summer camps, weekend trips designed to unlock her potential. Adrianna got responsibility. Their parents said it proudly. Addie's independent. As if independence wasn't something they had forced onto her. On Maya's birthday, there were sparklers and gold balloons. For Adrianna's, 2 months later, a leaning grocery store sheet cake left on the counter. "Don't forget your shift," her mother said. Adrianna was 16. The shift wasn't required. The mortgage was. Adrianna never blamed Maya. Maya hadn't created the system. She had simply learned to bloom inside it. Adrianna learned instead that wanting things made her inconvenient. So she stopped wanting. She folded towels, filled medication drawers, helped residents write holiday cards. She became the girl who solved problems quietly, whose usefulness erased the need for praise. Maya left the city to pursue creative media, a dream their parents adored. She called home often, usually asking for money. They always sent it. Meanwhile, their father fell ill, then their mother. Staff left. Regulations tightened. The person they turned to wasn't Maya. It was Adrianna. She signed the power of attorney on a cracked vinyl chair at 2 a.m. "You're good with serious things," her mother whispered. Not praise, assignment. Adrianna often saw her reflection in facilities' glass doors afterward. Straight posture, hair pinned back, tablet in hand. She looked older than her age, worn by responsibility she never asked for. She accepted her role as if it were the only option. "You're the scaffolding," she once heard her father say. Maya is the face. When the shift came, it was quiet. Emails she normally received began going to Maya. Meetings took place without her. One day in the supply room, her phone buzzed. It was a photo from her mother, Maya smiling in front of the facility sign. The caption read, "Future Leadership." Adrianna stared until the screen dimmed. Later, she found an invitation in her mailbox. Family Legacy Celebration, printed in gold lettering. No mention of her role. That evening, she entered the kitchen. Her father and Maya discussed next decade vision. Her mother nodded. Adrianna waited to be noticed. Eventually, her father looked up. "Addie, don't worry about administrative stuff. You've done enough heavy lifting. It's Maya's time." Maya offered a polite smile. "Behind the scenes," her mother added, touching Adrianna's wrist gently. The phrase landed like a weight. Later, Adrianna found a folder on the dining table. Financial projections in Maya's handwriting. Numbers wildly incorrect. Yet her parents had initialed the pages. They had already decided. Adrianna sat down, staring at the papers. Something inside her didn't break. It settled. She closed the folder, placed it back neatly, climbed the stairs, and sat on her bed in the dim, pale blue room. Maya's laugh drifted up the stairs like someone stepping into a spotlight. Adrianna opened a blank document on her tablet and began. She listed 10 years of crises, staffing shortages, regulatory freezes, Medicaid threats, emergencies she had solved silently. Then she listed structural components, licenses, compliance standards, partnerships. She named every inspector, physician, and caseworker who trusted her, not her parents, with decisions. She wasn't building a case. The case already existed. She was arranging the truth. Before sunrise, she drove across Savannah to Dr. Hale's office. He opened the door without question. His office smelled of cedar and old books. He read her notes slowly. When he finished, he said, "They're moving without you." Adrianna nodded. "Then stop asking to be seen," he said. That afternoon, he called Ms. Rowan, a systems attorney with decades of experience. She carried a leather portfolio and a calm, razor-sharp composure. She reviewed Adrianna's documents, contracts, emails, compliance logs, the POA. She paused only when she reached Maya's faulty projections. "They're planning a transfer," she said, "but they don't understand what they're transferring." Adrianna asked her to explain. "The licenses," Rowan said, "they're the spine. Without them, the facilities are just buildings. These protocols," she tapped the compliance manual, "this is intellectual property. And the partnerships? Institutional capital. It follows competence, not names. You can protect your work," Rowan said, "not through emotion, through structure." They spent a week building a nonprofit foundation to safeguard everything intangible, the brand, the protocols, the data systems, the partnerships. Adrianna named it Harbor Bridge Foundation, a structure built for steadiness. Using her still valid power of attorney, she transferred each element meticulously. Her parents signed advisory roles without reading the details, assuming it was routine administrative work. They didn't know they were relinquishing control. When the work was complete, Adrianna resumed operations like normal. Staff greeted her with quiet respect. Maya drifted around offering color palettes for the website. The night before the celebration, Adrianna sat alone in the tiny office behind the nurse station. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. She drafted a letter to Maya, not angry or accusatory, just honest. She explained what Maya was inheriting. A shell without the system, responsibility without preparation, a title without the backbone. She explained Harbor Bridge. She ended with, "What you carry next depends on what you choose to hold." She printed the letter, folded it neatly, and slipped it into a red envelope. On the day of the celebration, she placed the envelope in her bag. The celebration looked warm from the POA document. Soft lights, crystal glasses, linen napkins folded perfectly. Her parents glowed. Maya sat between them, fingers grazing her glass stem like she had practiced for this moment. When Mr. Parker tapped his spoon, the room quieted. "Thank you all for being here tonight. We honor the future of our family's work." He smiled at Maya. "She's ready to lead." Mrs. Parker nodded proudly. Adrianna felt no sting, only confirmation. She waited for the applause to fade, then rose quietly. She placed 3 items on the table: the keys, the POA, and the red envelope. The keys made a small metallic tap. Mr. Parker frowned. "Addie, this isn't necessary." Adrianna slid them toward Maya. "It's all yours." Some guests smiled, thinking it sentimental. Others sensed the stillness. Maya opened the envelope. Her eyes scanned the first lines, then widened. She flipped the pages quickly. "What is this?" she whispered. No one answered. Her voice rose as she read the transfers. Brand, protocols, licensing, all under Harbor Bridge. No, this can't be real." Her chair screeched as she stood. Mr. Parker grabbed the papers. His face drained. "Adrianna, what did you do?" Mrs. Parker snatched the page. "This says we don't own anything." "The facilities are buildings," Adrianna said softly. "Just buildings." A hush fell. In the corner, Harbor Bridge's attorney, Mr. Hayes, rose. "Everything you're reading is accurate," he said calmly. "These transfers were executed 3 years ago, when Ms. Cole held full authority to act legally." Mr. Parker stuttered. "Without our consent?" "With your signatures," Hayes replied. "Verified by medical records and third-party oversight." Maya looked between them. So, what did they give me? Hayes folded his hands. 2 aging buildings. And the debt. He lifted a page. Any operational authority must be certified by Harbor Bridge. Certification requires meeting the care standards Ms. Cole designed. Failure to meet staffing ratios or safety protocols allows Harbor to revoke the license in 60 days. Mrs. Parker whispered, "So we have nothing." Adrianna didn't respond. They had exactly what they valued, appearance without substance. Maya sank into her chair, the letter trembling in her hands. "I thought I was taking over something real." Adrianna's voice was steady. "You were taking over the work. You just never saw it." Hayes closed the folder. "This structure protects residents and staff. It is not punitive." The Parkers stared at Adrianna as if seeing her for the first time, not as a daughter they leaned on, but as someone they no longer controlled. Adrianna didn't comfort them. She simply stepped back. The room stayed silent. She left the building without turning back. That night, she lay in bed, not sleepless from guilt, but from the strange quiet that filled the house. No buzzing phone. No late-night crises. No one depending on her. For the first time, she felt space, wide, unfamiliar, earned. By morning, consequences unfolded without her involvement. Bank emails, staff resignations, compliance notices, all went directly to where responsibility now sat. Still, before sunrise, she drove to New Harbor Bridge Center. The windows glowed amber. Inside, volunteers prepared morning activities. A piano was being tuned, notes drifting down the hallway. Life moved on even when families didn't. Adrianna entered her small office. The morning light softened everything. She set her keys on the desk and released a slow breath. The weight she carried for years slid off quietly, without ceremony. Later that week, she saw her parents in a Medicaid waiting room. They sat close, hands clasped, staring ahead. They didn't notice her. She didn't stop, not out of anger, but because there was nothing left to fix. A month later, during a site visit, she saw Maya pushing a resident's wheelchair. Her movements were careful, unfamiliar. She looked different without applause. Maya didn't see Adrianna, and Adrianna didn't interrupt. She let Maya have her moment. Small as it was, some stories end with triumph. Adrianna's ended with stillness, clean, quiet, long overdue. She didn't win by force. She simply stepped aside and stopped carrying what wasn't hers. Boundaries settled like dust, soft and inevitable. Her freedom didn't come from revenge. It came from finally walking out of a structure built on her silence. She realized the truth. Sometimes the strongest thing a person could do is say nothing at all. She left behind only clarity, not noise, not explanations. The system would speak for itself. Adrianna stepped into her mornings with steadier breaths and no shadows clinging to her shoulders. She no longer existed behind the scenes. She existed in her own life. And for the first time, space, real uncluttered space, belonged to her. If the story of Adrianna Cole stayed with you, stay close. There are more stories waiting.